Elena Wright lived in a $12 million penthouse that glittered over Los Angeles like a glass crown. To the outside world, she was untouchable, brilliant, disciplined, poised, a self-made CEO with a flawless public image. But beneath that immaculate exterior, her body rebelled against her. Dizzy spells, shortness of breath, insomnia, a heart that raced like a trapped bird. Every top physician had given her the same verdict. You're perfectly fine. But she had never felt fine, not once in years. And one late night, the only person who would discover the truth wasn't a doctor, a partner, or friend. It was Marcus Hill, the quiet single father who cleaned her penthouse after hours. Marcus Hill, the man who cleaned her life without her noticing. Marcus arrived at the Westwood Tower every night at 11 p.m., parking his aging Honda in the underground garage before taking a freight elevator to the 42nd floor. He had been working night shifts for 3 years, cleaning luxury penthouses that cost more than he would earn in a lifetime. But the schedule worked around the person who mattered most, his 9-year-old daughter, Amy. While she slept at his mother's house on weeknights, Marcus cleaned silently, methodically. Stability mattered more than glamour, and this job gave him exactly that. Elena Wright's penthouse was unlike the others. It wasn't just clean, it was sterile. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the shimmering sprawl of Los Angeles. Marble counters glistened like untouched snow. Every piece of furniture looked like it belonged behind velvet ropes in a museum. The apartment felt curated, not lived in. Marcus never saw jackets tossed over chairs or mail scattered across countertops. No shoes by the door, no signs of daily life. Just perfection, cold, controlled, fragile. He followed his usual route. Kitchen, living room, hallway, guest rooms, guest bath. The master bedroom door, by Elena's strict rule, remained closed. He had barely spoken to her in 8 months, exchanging only brief, polite conversations. And then the cough. The first crack in her armor. It was sharp, wet, a sound that didn't belong in a place so pristine. Marcus froze in the hallway, spray bottle in one hand, rag in the other. He had never heard her cough before. The sound returned, longer, harsher, the kind of cough that scraped the lungs raw. He approached the bedroom door and knocked softly. "Miss Wright?" No answer, only more coughing. He knocked louder. "Miss Wright, are you okay?" Silence. Then a voice, tight, strained. "I'm fine." But Marcus recognized that tone. His wife had used the same one near the end, when her lungs were failing. He offered, "Do you need water?" I said, "I'm fine." Footsteps shuffled behind the door. Something clattered onto a surface. Then the door cracked open. Elena stood there, young, mid-30s, pale, her eyes dark with exhaustion. She offered a hoarse apology for disturbing him. Marcus insisted she hadn't, urged her to drink water, and she nodded, closing the door softly. He tried to finish the night's tasks, but the sound of her coughing echoed long after he left. The puzzle pieces start to appear. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus noticed what he had missed before. Scattered mints on the counter every night, fresh tissues in the guest bathroom trash, an air purifier running constantly, with a filter far too new, windows always open. Even on 40-degree nights, the balcony door unlocked, despite strict building policies, and a faint, unmistakable smell near the sliding doors. Smoke. Covered, disguised, but not gone. He knew that smell. He had grown up around it. He had married someone who hid it. He had lost someone because of it. Still, he told himself, not your business. She's an adult. It's her life. But the cough got worse. The hidden bag. One night, while cleaning the smaller balcony, Marcus moved a chair to vacuum underneath it. Something plastic was stuffed behind the outdoor AC unit. A tightly folded bag. Hidden deliberately. Inside were over 20 cigarette butts, wrapped in tissue, sealed away, accompanied by a wiped-clean ashtray still stained with ash. It hit him hard, the same hiding habits his wife had used. He put the bag back, finished his work, locked up, and walked out, but he didn't leave. He stood in the hallway outside the penthouse door, torn. Say nothing, or save a life. He didn't sleep that night. A changed Elena. Over the next nights, Elena appeared more often. She crossed paths with him, spoke softly, apologized for her rude tone, even thanked him for his work. Her voice carried something unfamiliar, guilt. And then one night, Marcus found her sitting alone on the balcony, framed by the city lights. She looked fragile, as if held together by sheer force of will. When he asked if she was okay, she smiled a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm fine, just tired." The lie was too familiar. The confrontation he never wanted. 3 nights later, Marcus couldn't take it anymore. He waited until she came home around midnight. When she did, exhausted and silent, he approached her. "I found something," he said, "on the small balcony." Her face drained of color. He explained he hadn't been snooping, that he simply couldn't ignore what he saw. She snapped, angry, defensive, ashamed. "You're going to judge me? Lecture me?" "No," Marcus said gently. "I'm here because I've lived this before." He told her about his wife, about watching her lungs fail, about the regret of not saying something sooner. And Elena cracked. Her anger dissolved into vulnerability. She admitted her fear, not of dying, but of being exposed, judged, seen as less than perfect. She confessed how badly she had tried to quit, how the world expected her to be flawless, how the pressure suffocated her. "If they knew, they'd see me as a fraud." "You're human," Marcus said, "not a fraud." And for the first time, she believed him, a fragile trust. Over the following week, Elena changed. She left her door open. She asked about his daughter. She spoke like a person who hadn't spoken honestly in years. But her cough grew worse. One night, Marcus found her slumped in the elevator lobby, gasping for breath, shaking, terrified. "I can't breathe." She begged him not to call 911. The shame was greater than the fear of dying. So he helped her inside, steadied her, waited until she could breathe again. When she whispered, "I need help," Marcus squeezed her hand and answered, "Then let me help you." Elena didn't know how long she slept, only that when her eyes finally fluttered open, sunlight leaked through the curtains in thin golden stripes. Her body felt heavy, but for once, she didn't feel like she was dying. Her heartbeat was steady. Her head wasn't spinning. Her lungs weren't clawing for air. Her phone vibrated beside her. "Dad." Her stomach tightened. She wasn't ready for questions, for the disappointment in his voice when he found out she had fainted in public again. But when she answered, his voice wasn't stern. It was tight, strained, almost scared. "Elena, are you all right?" She sat up slowly. "I'm fine." "You fainted." Of course he already knew. Her father, Arthur Wright, knew everything before anyone else did. His security networks were legendary. He practically owned half the city. "Elena," he continued, voice roughening, "your medical reports came in." She froze. "Medical reports?" "But the hospital said she was stable and normal." "What reports?" she whispered. There was a long, heavy silence, the kind that made her heart thud harder. "Elena, someone requested your records under my authorization code." She blinked. "What? Who would do that?" The answer came from behind her. "I would." She jerked, twisting toward the voice. Marcus stood leaning in her bedroom doorway, still in a black sweater and dark jeans, as if he had been there all night. The contrast of his broad shoulders against the soft morning light made him look even more intense. Her father spoke to the phone again, sounding resigned. "He's been here since you arrived home." Elena stared at Marcus, jaw tight. "You accessed my medical files?" He didn't even flinch. "I needed to know what was happening to you." "That's illegal," she snapped. "But necessary." His tone wasn't defensive. It was factual, calm, as if he considered every angle and still arrived at the same answer. "Elena," her father added, "Marcus found something." Her mouth ran dry. "Found what?" Marcus walked toward her, slow, deliberate steps. When he reached her bedside, he held up a tablet displaying scans. Her scans. Except something was wrong. Very wrong. A thin, opaque shadow ran down the side of her spine, barely visible. Her breath hitched. What is that?" Marcus didn't ease her into it. He didn't sugarcoat. He never did. It's a foreign implant. Her heart lurched. Her father's voice pressed into her ear. Elena, that wasn't in any of your previous scans. Someone put that in your body recently. Her stomach twisted violently. Implant? What kind of implant? A neural disruptor. Marcus's voice was low, dangerous. A small device that releases intermittent pulses into your nervous system. It causes dizziness, shortness of breath, panic symptoms, everything you've been experiencing. Her throat closed. It all made sense. Every symptom. Every doctor saying she was perfectly fine. Every test showing nothing. Because they were never looking for this. Why would someone, her voice cracked, why would anyone put something like that in me? Because of your father, Marcus said. She whipped her head toward the phone. Dad. He sounded exhausted, older than she'd ever heard him. Elena, I've made enemies. Old enemies. People who couldn't reach me directly. Marcus slid a chair to her bedside and sat, leaning his elbows on his knees. They targeted you, he finished, to take him down. A tremor ran through her entire body. So you're telling me I've been sick for years because someone did this to me on purpose? Marcus didn't answer with words. He didn't need to. The storm in his expression was answer enough. Someone had crossed a line so violent, so personal, that the fury inside him was barely contained. Her father tried again, voice breaking. Elena, I'm so sorry. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. Marcus reached out to wipe it, but hesitated, his hand hovering, waiting for permission. When she didn't pull away, his touch was incredibly gentle. This wasn't your father's fault, he said softly. This was someone else's war. You were collateral. She closed her eyes, letting the truth sink deeper, heavier. How long has it been there? She whispered. For years. Her breath shattered. For years of panic. For years of losing herself. For years of believing she was weak, broken. She swallowed a sob. Can be removed? Yes, Marcus said, but not by any hospital. Of course not. Whoever planted it had access, connections, cover-ups. Her father spoke again. Marcus as a specialist. Off-grid. Trustworthy. Elena stared at the towering man beside her. You knew all this? Before telling me, yes. Why didn't you wake me? His gaze softened in a way she wasn't used to. You needed rest more than answers. Her chest tightened, not with fear this time, but something warm and confusing. Why do you care so much? She whispered. The question hung in the air like a fragile thread. Marcus looked down, jaw clenching. When he lifted his eyes again, the truth in them nearly stole her breath. Because someone hurt you. His voice was quiet, but steel ran beneath every word. And I don't tolerate anyone hurting the people I. He stopped himself abruptly, but she had heard enough. The people he what? The people he cared about? Protected? Loved? A flush rose up her neck. Marcus stood. We leave in 1 hour. We, she whispered. You're not going anywhere alone again. She should have argued. Should have told him he didn't get to decide that. But her body betrayed her. Relief unfurled deep inside her chest, softening something that had been locked for years. He walked toward the door, pausing just long enough to glance back. Elena, yes. I'm going to fix this. And for the first time in 4 years, she believed someone, truly believed it. She watched him leave the room, her pulse steady, her mind clear. The truth was terrifying, but the truth was finally hers. And she wasn't facing it alone.